What if the one thing meant to win you clients is quietly losing them? Your capabilities deck is supposed to be your number one sales tool. But if it's confusing, dated, or just plain boring, it's probably killing deals before you've even had a chance to pitch. So in this video, I'm going to go through the 7 symptoms of an ineffective capabilities deck. If you're experiencing even one of these, it's probably time for a refresh. I'm Lindsay Christian, and I've designed hundreds and hundreds of decks. And now I have a 6-figure agency dedicated exclusively to helping other agencies fix their capabilities deck so they can land more dream clients, close deals faster, and build the agency of their dreams. So let's face it, if your deck needs a disclaimer, it's not doing its job. Most agency decks start out okay, but they slowly become a deck of Frankenstein slides with everything from mixed messaging to last minute edits to design that hasn't been touched since 2019. So here's how to know if your deck needs a makeover. So our first sign is that you're skipping slides. If you're deliberately having to skip over slides during your pitch because they're confusing, irrelevant, or repetitive, then your deck is working against you. If you have to say things like, oh, we haven't updated that part yet, or oh, just forget that old slide, you're giving away your credibility before you've even had a chance to really get into the pitch. A solid deck should be lean and purposeful. Every slide should have its place and should be guiding the prospect towards the sale. So you shouldn't be having to edit your pitch in real time due to a deck that has slides and sections that are no longer relevant. The second is a no-brainer, but this is if your visuals are dated. So for example, old stock photos, pixelated logos, old social icons that are no longer relevant. Think the switch from Twitter to X. So anything like that makes your deck look old or dated is automatically going to hurt you in your pitch and is another sign that it's time to do an overhaul on the deck. Really look slide to slide, see what needs to be updated. Do visuals need to be updated? Do you have new projects that could be added, etc.? But you really don't want to have anything that makes your deck look old or stale or like a document that you haven't refreshed recently. And so the next telltale sign is if you're feeling unprepared. If your deck stresses you out before every pitch, that's a huge problem. Your deck should essentially be a calm in the storm, your guide, something that you're familiar with, that you're used to, that helps you through the pitch and makes you feel more comfortable. It shouldn't be something that stresses you out or a visual that you're concerned about or something that you haven't practiced with or used consistently. So if you find yourself constantly filling in gaps or, not being able to let slides speak for themselves and you're having to give a lot of additional explanation, that's another telltale sign that it's time to take another dive into your deck and look at where it can be cleaned up. Again, every slide should have a purpose. Every slide should be guiding your prospect closer to the sale. I'll touch on this again at the end, but feel free to check the link down below in the description where I give you guys a slide by slide breakdown of how to structure a really compelling capabilities deck. But again, if you're feeling unprepared, if your deck is making you nervous, if you're not excited to share it, that's a telltale sign that your pitch deck isn't where it needs to be. And you should really revisit it and look at how you can strengthen it and make it better. And so number 4, if your prospects are zoning out. Your capabilities deck should not be losing attention. It should be gaining attention. Should be showing amazing work. And with every slide, it should be getting your prospect more and more excited about working with you. So if you're pitching and you're kind of seeing your prospect zone out or their eyes glaze over, then it's time to really revisit the deck, the flow of the deck, the content of the deck, this design of the deck, and make sure that it's exciting to look at, that it's exciting to follow along with, and that it's really capitalizing on the value your agency can deliver. Any prospect that's seeing work that they want or results that they want to achieve is going to be excited by looking at your deck. So if you don't see that excitement, that's a huge red flag. It's time to revisit. So this next one is a killer. This is if you're juggling too many versions. And I probably see this the most with agency owners where they have tons of different versions of their deck. Different team members are using different versions. They can't even keep track of all the different versions. And then essentially these versions become different Frankenstein versions where different team members aren't even saying the same thing. Slides look different. Brand guidelines start to go out the window. And you just have this hodgepodge of different decks that you're kind of using on a whim. This is a huge red flag. You should have a central core capabilities deck that works for 95% of your pitches. And that should be a singular file that gets updated. It's centralized. The entire team has access to it. And then from there, little customizations for different prospects and different pitches are okay. But you want to make sure that they all stem from that core version that's super solid. The messaging and positioning are dialed in. The value from your agency is clear from slide to slide. And that one version is really the structured guide that is moving prospect from starting point all the way to the sale. And then, like I said, if you need spin-off versions, they're all based off that core deck. That is one centralized copy. That's the first one you go to update every time. So if you're rebuilding your deck from scratch every time, or you found that you have, 5, 10, 15 different versions and you can't keep track, it's time to bring all of those versions together, really start from scratch to create that one core deck deck. And then once it's finalized, make sure to share that out to your team members in a way that they understand where to find it and how to access the most updated version so that everybody in your agency is working from that core, strongest, centralized version of the deck. And so another symptom that I see often is agency owners who are directing people and prospects to their website as opposed to their capabilities deck. Now, of course, your agency website is important. It definitely has a place in the entire sales funnel, but the purpose of a capabilities deck is really to guide a prospect towards the sale. So when you're pitching, it's a much stronger tool than your website, which has kind of free for all flow as far as prospects being able to click around and kind of go on their own journey of learning of your agency versus a capabilities deck, which is a really choreographed slide by slide path or journey that you're taking that prospect on. So it is your number one sales tool. And so in a pitch, it's the strongest tool for you to be using. So if you're directing prospects away from your deck to your website, essentially that's a red flag because your deck isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's not as strong as it needs to be because it should be your number one sales tool. It's the most flexible, it's the most customizable, and it's the number one tool you should be directing prospects to when they're considering whether to work with your agency. So just something to think about if you are, more comfortable referring people to your website, maybe you just did a website update or something along those lines. That's really a perfect time to revisit your deck, make sure your deck is up to par. It looks great. Everything is where it needs to be. And it's the number one thing that you're comfortable sharing out to prospects who are in the sales process. And then finally, I see this often as well. If prospects are asking for more information after you pitch them with your deck, then your deck has not done its job. The purpose of the capabilities deck is to provide all of the information a prospect needs in order to say yes or no about hiring you. So if they have additional questions, then there are gaps in the deck that need to be filled. So I would definitely take those questions, note them down, and make sure you address them as you revisit your deck and make edits to your deck. But just understand that the purpose of the capabilities deck, even without you there to pitch, even if it's just a standalone link that you're sharing out to prospects, it should give them all of the information they need in order to make a sales decision about working with your agency. So if they're asking for more info, again, figure out what that is and make sure you fill that gap and answer that question in your capabilities deck for future pitches that you do. So there you have it. If any of those felt painfully familiar, it's probably time for a capabilities deck refresh. And I've worked with tons of agencies who had no idea that their capabilities deck is what was hurting their sales. And after a few strategic changes, tightening up their positioning, up leveling their visuals to make the deck more modern and visually exciting to look at, and really focusing on results focused language, results focused case studies, they were able to see a huge uptick in their close rate and, were really being able to book more clients and grow their agency. So if you want help, more direction as far as how to structure your capabilities deck, check out this video. It's a detailed slide by slide guide on how to structure your capabilities deck to really lead prospects through the journey of your agency and guide them towards the sale. And if you want help from me or my team on fixing your deck or just taking a look at your deck, check out the link in the description below to book a call. We'd love to talk to you, see where you are in the kind of the development process with your deck and see if we can help.